Heartbeat Alaska is made possible by the following. By Coca-Cola, serving Alaska quality soft drinks since 1937.
By the generous support of the Alaska Native Health Board.
By the Alaska Commercial Company, Alaska's supplier of food, family apparel, and general Alaskan merchandise since 1867. And Heartbeat Alaska is brought to you by the Public Information Office of the North Slope Borough.
There's a heartbeat, louder than thunder. Revolution is in the air. There's a heartbeat deep inside our mother. Are you too cool to care?
Hello and welcome to Heartbeat Alaska. I'm Jeannie Green, bringing you Native news from the North. Hello to all our regular viewers across Canada, Greenland, Russia, and Alaska, and welcome public station managers across America who, with this program, are previewing Native news from the North, our own Heartbeat Alaska. We're so glad to have you with us. On today's program, we travel to the top of the world, to Borough, Alaska, for news from the North Slope Borough, then all the way down to Arizona, where the Navajos went on a marathon bike trek. A very interesting story. They even went down to Mexico, all that, plus powwows across America and some in Canada. But first, here's Gary Fife with Native news across the nation.
This is Native News Across the Nation. I'm Gary Fife. In Alaska, the question of the use of traditional tribal justice has the Washington State Superior Court, the federal government, and the Tlingit people of southeast Alaska in the village of Chevak working to find a solution. At issue is the punishment of two Tlingit youths, Simon Guthrie and Adrian Roberts, who have been convicted in the robbery and assault of a pizza delivery driver. A Tlingit's tribal court has asked to have the two young men spend a year alone banished to an island in accordance with what they say is tribal tradition. The Snohomish County judge agreed as an alternative to sending the young men to prison. But there's been questions about who has the legal authority as a tribal court and whether the tribe could use federal property for the punishment. The tribe has also offered to pay compensation and costs to the delivery driver who was permanently injured in the robbery. Judge James Allendorfer has still been willing to let the tribe punish the two young men, and now the court is awaiting a $25,000 bond from the boys' families. 4 groups of Native youth in Minneapolis, Minnesota have begun a 1,000-mile journey by canoe following courses laid out in the 4 sacred directions, north, south, east, and west. The youth are making the journey as a matter of cultural pride and as a remembrance of 38 Dakota leaders executed by the U.S. Army in 1862 at Mankato, Minnesota, and the 1863 Death March of Dakotas towards internment at Fort Snelling. The trip is being sponsored by the American Indian Movement and the Peacemaker Center. The 4 canoe groups will meet on August 31st at the fort for a meeting called the Youth and Elders and Water is Life Conference. The meeting will also coincide with the 26th anniversary of the American Indian Movement. The Nez Perce tribe of Idaho has joined with other non-native groups to oppose the plans of a militant white supremacist group who wants to build a community on tribal land in north-central Idaho. The groups are opposed to the plans of James Bo Greitz and the Populist Party to build a project called Almost Heaven. Indian Country Today reported that the group's Center for Action newsletter calls the project a place where the group would be sealed up against the dragon and the wrath of God poured out against his enemies. More Alaska Native corporations have been hearing calls from their shareholders to share the wealth from various settlements and windfalls. In the past several weeks, the Cook Inlet region especially has heard from Native shareholders, and CIRI has actually had a picket line outside its corporate offices in Anchorage. Now shareholders from the Village Corporation at Cake, Alaska have voted to give themselves $20 million more from a recent tax settlement with the Internal Revenue Service. 2/3 of the shareholders voted to release the cash. The dividends will be in addition to more than $9 million from the settlement already divided up. And finally, as the saying goes, you can reach out and touch someone, almost everyone. That includes nearly everybody in the country, but unless you're a Native American, that is. No, it's not a case of discrimination, but information from the U.S. Census Bureau says 1 home in 20 in America does not have a phone, and that's 5% of all households. As with many other categories of have-nots, Native Americans and Alaska Natives are the groups most likely not to have a telephone. But Natives are not alone. The Census Bureau reports that men who live alone are the most likely not to have a phone. But there's no word on whether Native men who live alone lead that category. And we'd like to extend a special welcome to TV program managers around the nation who are seeing us for the first time. This is Native News Across the Nation. For Heartbeat Alaska, I'm Gary Fife.
Thanks, Gary. For public stations, we go right into the National Powwow Directory. For the rest of us, we'll be back with the directory right after these messages.
Heartbeat Alaska is made possible by TCC, a joint venture with Chenega Bay, Tutitlik, and Chugach Alaska Corporation. Through SERV's Ship Escort Response Vessel System, providing tanker escort services in Prince William Sound, protecting our environment. Chugach Alaska Corporation.
Hello, my name is Henry Kaiser, and I'm a quarter Athabascan from Nenana, and I watch Heartbeat Alaska. This week in People magazine, I saw where friends of Jeannie Green bring her gifts, especially native food. So I brought her some canned red salmon from Bristol Bay, home canned right here in Anchorage by myself.
Thanks, Henry. It's lunchtime, you guys. Let's have some. You hungry?
Inyu piangisa Alaskam koverigat inyu nernek nunakirani. Inuit pilwilingarate mangak takun inyu nernek sikarnak sivluni. Sikarna ilipayaklugo savalgotiningarut inyung nun pilwilingaranun. Savakpata ilisarumakpata piraknigugaluarli. Ilismapsao kuben kokuraklugo una. 800-770-0138.
It's time now for the National Powwow Directory, powwows across Canada and across America, brought to us by News from Indian Country. Let's travel first to the country of Canada. If you're in that area, make sure that you attend this powwow, the 20th Moravian Town, September 3rd through the 4th, located at Highgate Road, Moravian Reserve in Ontario, Canada. Make sure you attend that one. Here in the United States, there's 3 different types of powwows: a benefit, a traditional, and a contest. In Farmington, Connecticut, the 10th Connecticut River Powwow will be held August 26th through 28th, Farmington Polo Club. And you can call them at 203-684-6984. The Rosebud, South Dakota Powwow's coming up here, Rosebud Celebration, August 26th through the 28th on the Rosebud Powwow grounds. Make sure if you're in that state that you attend that powwow. That's why we're putting them up here. The Rapid River, Michigan Powwow, the 5th Anishinaabe Mumway Powwow, August 26th through 28th, and that's the Tri-Township School. That's where it's located. And like I said, if you're in that state, make sure that you get over to that powwow. Poplar, Montana, the Oil Discovery Celebration, held August 26th through the 28th at the American Legion Park. Call them at 406-448-2546. If I have any viewers near these powwows, get me some video too, please, in Nia Bay, Washington, real close to Alaska. Maka Days, August 26th through 28th, Bayview Avenue. And there's the phone number right there. We travel now to Duluth, Minnesota. The Nimiwin, August 26th through the 28th, Spirit Mountain Ski Resort. Give them a call at 218-726-0130. And I wish I was going to every single one of these powwows. Can you imagine the video we've got in Spokane, Washington? The Northwest Indian Encampment, August 26th through 28th, Riverfront Park. That's another powwow that's pretty close to Alaska. Of course, now, these are for the benefit of all the tribes across the nation that are watching. Alexandria, Virginia, American Indian Fest, August 27th in the Market Square. Give them a call. And people do travel a lot from Alaska, and we travel across the United States. And of course, many, many Indians attend these. North Little Rock, Arkansas, Dancing for the Big Rock, September 2nd through the 4th at Burns Park. 1-800-228-0963. I wish I was going in Wellapinnet, Washington. I said that wrong. Spokane, Labor Day, September 2nd through the 4th. Powwow Grounds. Now, if I say your city wrong, make sure you give me a call collect. I will not try this one, and I'm sure you don't blame me. This is in Oklahoma, 8th Labor Day, September 2nd through the 4th. East Side Ballpark, I could say that. Well, that's the national powwows for this week. Make sure if you're in that area that you give our good friends in the lower 48 a call and a visit, and make sure that you give them support for their powwows. Let's travel now to the North Slope Borough for their news with Tina Corwin.
An autopsy will be performed on the frozen remains of a young woman removed from an eroding bluff in the Ukoksi area of Borough on August 10. Archaeologists used water from a fire truck to melt the layer of ice above the body.
After consultation with the elders and with the borough, it was decided that we should try to work to get that person out of there as quickly as possible. Before, for instance, another storm comes and this whole block tumbles down onto the beach and then into the ocean.
The autopsy scheduled for August 19 and 20 will go beyond the cause of death and attempt to answer questions being developed by the Inupiat History, Language, and Culture Commission staff. The elders in Borough have asked that the remains be treated respectfully and buried as soon as possible. IHLC feels the autopsy will be conducted in such a fashion as to stay within these guidelines. At the site itself, work is wrapping up due to weather and the archaeologists' work schedules. At a nearby temporary lab, artifacts are being prepared for storage. This fall, students of the Arctic Sivimun Ilisarvik College Museum Studies class will work with instructors and elders to analyze and catalog the material, which will eventually be displayed at the new cultural center being built in Borough. Items found near the young woman include a 3 to 4 foot baleen toboggan with what appears to be walrus hide ropes. There was also some stitched skin that seems to be a part of a kayak cover. Another object, not yet identified, is made of bird skins still containing the attached feathers. Near the site of the human remains, baleen slat armor was found protruding from the cliff. Though not necessarily associated with the site under excavation, archaeologists were excited by the find because intact baleen slat armor is very rare. All items found to date continue to support the theory that the remains are 200 to 500 years old and may be contemporary with a well-known frozen family. Working with the field spill prevention and cleanup experts, the North Slope Borough's Office of Occupational Safety, Health, and Environmental Affairs began a borough-wide training program this summer to develop village teams trained in spill prevention and initial response, including containment and cleanup. The primary concern was the safety of response personnel. Classroom instruction included proper dressing and decontamination techniques.
Ultimately, you're going to be the one responsible for yourself as far as putting this stuff on and using it properly. And it's real important that you get used to it, understand it, and knowing how to use it. Knowing when to use it and when not to use it.
When the classwork was finished, participants headed to their designated practice site for a full-scale drill. People experienced in medical or field work were encouraged to learn other methods of response. That meant that some EMTs were asked to do things like disperse boom, and some fuel tank workers were sent to man decontamination centers. The object was to strengthen team effectiveness by overlapping skill training. During the transportation phase of the drill response to Wainwright, a North Slope Borough search and rescue crew airlifted boom material and other cleanup gear to the site, packed into a custom-designed container.
We're moving fuel spill response equipment to a drill in Wainwright. It's now about 9:45, and we were informed of a mock drill in Wainwright at 9 o'clock this morning. So we're proving to ourselves and the Department of Environmental Conservation that we can mobilize additional spill response equipment and move it using this chromoly box here over to, and the search and rescue chopper over to Wainwright.
Training will continue until all North Slope communities have teams that are well trained and equipped to handle emergency response situations. Plans include drills on a regular basis at all 7 North Slope villages. After some worries caused by the late departure of the ice, the first barge of the season has arrived in Borough. Bowhead Transportation is offloading winter food supplies, new buses, building materials, houses, and lots of other much-needed supplies. A second barge is a couple of weeks behind. The voyage from Seattle to Qaaqtuvik and back takes the barge and tugboat crews about 3 months to complete. That's all the news from the North Slope. For Heartbeat Alaska and the North Slope Borough, I'm Tina Corwin. Kuyanakbuk.
Thank you, Tina. Let's travel now to Chevak, Alaska. For those of you viewing Heartbeat Alaska for the first time, we travel around Alaska thanks to the goodness of our viewers who get their camcorders out and tape their village and stories that happen in their communities, just like you will be doing in the lower 48 on the reservations and communities that pick up Heartbeat Alaska. Thanks to people like Roy Atchek, we're able to attend the yearly Tundra Fest.
First-time kayakers, Lena Ferguson in front, Lillian Olsen in the back. And they're off.
This year's Tundra Fest will be off to a good start, located in Chevak, Alaska, on August 26th through the 28th. 3 days packed with carnivals, dances, and lots of fun for everyone. Chevak, Alaska is a Yupik village. The present village site was settled in the early 1950s after an earlier site 5 miles to the south, now called Old Chevak, was abandoned because of frequent flooding. Today, nearly 500 people live in Chevak. Before the elders moved to Old Chevak, they had lived in a village called Kashinuk, near the mouth of the Kashinuk River, 10 miles south of modern Chevak. Kashinuk was an important permanent settlement, a winter village that was also abandoned because of flooding.
Kayakers nearing the finish line.
This kayak race took place last year, but the 1994 annual Tundra Fest looks like it's going to be just as fun. There'll be parades and Eskimo dancing, workshops, carnivals, bingo, basketball tournaments, and the list goes on and on.
Thank you, Roy Atchek, and anyone else who worked on that video. Let's travel now to Arizona, where the students took a bike ride through several different states and through Mexico.
Some of them said they almost quit, but stayed with it, and said they learned a lot, plus an experience they will treasure the rest of their lives.
7 student cyclists, all Indians, traveled 2,200 miles by bicycle in 32 days. They left Chinle, Arizona on June 6th and arrived home a month later, tired, sunburned, and elated.
How was your stay in Shipwreck last night? Was it pretty good?
Yeah, we stayed on the teachers' housings or something like that, and then we went to Reggie's uncle's house. We ate 8 months doing fried bread over there.
That's one thing you couldn't wait, huh?
Yeah,
Months
couldn't
doing fried
wait.
bread. Okay, what other advice would you give to others, youth that are in Chinle right now? They're probably going to listen to you. What message would you give them if they want to do something like this? Maybe next year, you never know. What would you tell them as a biker?
I would probably tell them not to give up, even though it's hard. Keep going, because it really pays off in the end.
And of course, like you guys are doing this for high school credit, and plus you guys are learning a lot of experience through education and stuff like that, right?
Yes.
What was the most dangerous area that you entered or encountered as you were going from here? Is there any dangerous
The freeway. Almost got hit a couple of times by people on the freeway crossing those exits and going this way.
So you had to be really cautious in order to go through a real big town, right?
Yes, Dallas is a pretty big town, and San Antonio. We went around San Antonio, but there was road construction, and there was some parts there was no shoulder, so we had to ride right onto the road.
Oh, was that really scary though,
Yeah,
right there?
There's a bunch of cars out morning too.
Oh no, busy traffic
Yeah,
that morning,
busy
huh?
traffic.
Congratulations, the Magnificent Seven. Give them a yell. Yay! We love you, and we're glad that you're safely home. We've been keeping track of where you've been, where you're going, where you're at, and we're just really proud of you. So I don't know what else to say. You're just great. You're super. Thanks for being safe, too, and thanks to your director, Mr. Manis. Thanks a lot.
I'd like to welcome you back, Dup.
Good to be back, and good to have all these kids well and back. We're just grateful to for the prayers and the consciousness of folks that we were on this trip. We know that they had us in their hearts, and that's why we're back safely.
I'm glad you're back safe too. I'd like to ask you who thought of this
endeavor in the first place, and how did it come about, and what kind of help did you have as far as the planning stages and also on the road all the way around from here and back?
Well, to the first, I'm guilty to the first. It was my thoughts about it. I did something similar to this 9 years ago when I was 48 years old. I did 48 states in 48 days, and I was always out there thinking, boy, if I could have my students out here with me, and if I could show them these things, and if they could experience this, and these kiddos, the Magnificent Seven, they'll never be the same. They're all
We have always felt in harmony with the land.
Chakome, tapiwa, ta skumok, ta tapiachu, kenok anesche, matapiwa, makaspumos, akum.
Help the Soil Conservation Service help our earth. Call us today. We owe it to our children.
Thank you so much for joining me on Heartbeat Alaska. Once again, I encourage you to get your camcorder out and please send me video. We're always looking for stories, and that includes anyone that's watching in the lower 48. And I hope you don't mind that term. That's what we call the rest of the United States. We're not excluding Hawaii by any stretch of the imagination. And to our viewers in Canada, hello and welcome to Heartbeat Alaska. Please join me again next week. I'm Jeannie Green, and I'm looking for your video.
Turn